My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome back to Transport Fever 2. We're just about to see how much money those new iron trains make us. And it is $28 million a trip, which is a bit more than I'd predicted. And I'm very pleased with that. Obviously, the more money we're making there, the better it is. Okay, so before we start today, just a quick apology for the lack of content over the past week or so. Obviously it has been the Easter holidays, which means the kids have been at home, which due to noise levels and interruptions and what have you, it's very difficult to get some recording done. But now that they are back at school, I'm recording this very early Monday morning, we should be back to a more regular routine, so I apologise for that. And I hope you can understand why things have been the way they have for the past couple of weeks. But as I said, hopefully now we're back up and running as normal and we can continue with the usual sort of output rate. So let's jump away from this train now. So yeah, $28 million per journey each of these trains makes us with a full load, and they do wait for a full load. Obviously I did ask for your suggestions in the previous video about whether we increase these to have a throughput of 400 per journey and then get the line rate balanced so that we have one train arriving every year to keep us well supplied. And I'll wait a couple more days before making a decision on that to give people a chance to leave their feedback and their comments and suggestions. But out of interest, let's just have a look at the details of this line. So we're pretty much hitting 1 year anyway, just under a year, as we can see, 11 minutes with, of course, 12 minutes being the year length in game. So if we were going to make this change, and it wouldn't take much, and in fact our rate is almost thereabouts when it comes to 400, so I think just adding one car per train would probably push that over 400, and the frequency, I think it would be there or thereabouts. We have 70 seconds to gain, so we'll keep that pinned and we'll keep that in the back pocket and make a decision about that a little bit later. But what I'd like to do today, first of all, is press on. So we've got iron being brought into here. The next thing we need to bring in is some coal. Now we have a coal mine here just outside of Carrollton. That's the nearest one and the most logical one to use. We do have this one up here to the northeast of Nashville as well, which would be an option. Or we have this one here, which actually our line currently runs in the vicinity of, so that would be an option as well. But because we have this stretch of single track here, if we were going to connect it in, we'd have to double track some of this just so we don't have trains waiting too far away, or we'd have the line come through perhaps up here and join in where it's double tracked along this fairly long stretch right here to give us plenty of room to work with. The trouble is getting a station in this area would be quite difficult because, well, it's just the terrain more than anything, and I think squeezing a long station in this area would just disrupt the terrain far too much for it to make much sense. So I'm leaning towards us using this mine here by Carrollton and having a line that snakes through this landscape here and comes in the opposite side to the iron and just does its own thing basically. And I think that's probably the most straightforward and obvious solution. And since we went for a nice fancy build last time out with this iron, I think having a more straightforward, more logical sort of setup for the coal would be perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and make a start on that. So we want a full size station here, only one track, because as it stands we're only delivering to one industry. That might change as we progress, of course, but to get the ball rolling we may as well just start with the one platform and singular track. Just rename that from Carlton Exchange to the Carlton Colliery. Not Colliery, no. Colliery, there we go. And what we're going to do, like I said, is get this line, bring it up through here, snake through this terrain here, through here, and then back down into there. So let's just see, if we were to come in this way, what height are we set at down here? So if we came out of, or came into this platform here, we are at, let's see, 8 meters. Okay. So we want to make sure that where possible we remain in and around 8 meters. I mean, I don't mind climbing up just a little, but we don't want to be going up to 25-30 meters to then have to lose it all again. Especially if over here we're already at about 8 meters. Let's just check that. Well, it's 6 meters, so we need to gain some elevation, which is fine because the terrain looks like it's going to be rising upwards anyway. So let's get this track laid in. A little bridge there. I'd prefer some cuttings, I think, because if you want to have it double tracked, it just makes it that little bit easier to achieve when you're not inside a tunnel. And we'll have it stay relatively straight with a view to us heading up this way. And I think at this point we will start to increase the height of this track. I mean, that says 6 meters to 6 meters, but it should still be climbing a little there. Well, that's 6 meters up to 8 meters. And that's a gradient of 1.8%, which is perfectly acceptable, and our trains will manage that. Now here we are going to have some tunnels because we just cannot get the elevation required in such a short distance. However, we don't want to be climbing up to 18 meters because that's 10 meters that we're going to have to lose by the time we get to the station. So let's have this drop down, and we'll set a hard limit like we did last time at about 12 meters height, and we really don't want to be going any higher than that. So let's see, keep it at 12 meters here. This will be a slow corner, which is unfortunate, but because we're having to snake through this terrain, I'd rather sacrifice a bit of speed here to keep this track looking relatively nice and decent. So I don't mind if we're losing speed along this run, but in and around 50 is always good. That's always a good target to aim for. Obviously that first corner we had there was a little bit lower than 50. I think it was about 35, so that was quite slow. And I think now we can start shedding off some of this elevation that we've gained. And we had it there to about 10 meters, which is a good height, because it means we're starting the descent down towards 8, and we are getting pretty close to the station. You can see it's just over the other side of this ridge line just here. That's 7 meters. We don't want to be going that much lower. Maybe get to about 9. And again, yep, a bridge. Well, not a bridge. It is a bridge, yes. A tunnel, rather. Do forgive me, it is 2 AM in the morning. Yeah, a tunnel there is fine. And again, we don't want to be dropping below 8 meters at this point. And hopefully we can... In fact, let's take it to about there. And then from here on out, what would a cutting look like? Well, it would do nasty things to the terrain, but we can fix that with the terrain tools after the fact, so that's not too much of a problem. And what can we get here? Can we get 70 and still leave ourselves lined up nicely for approach? Yes, we can. So a 70 mile an hour corner there. We could rework this bit actually, now that I look at it. Have it come a little bit straighter here and then curve more this way. And I think we will do that. But first of all, let's just finish off this final connection here. So that's 57, that's fine, it's above 50, we can take that. And then let's do what we were just talking about there. Let's head to this bit and let's just do something a little bit different here. So we'll delete the track from the straight bit to, say, that radius there. And in fact, let me see what it would do if we just did a continuous connection there. Well, look at that, 75 miles per hour. And we haven't really increased the length of the tunnel too excessively. And it just looks a lot neater and a lot tidier. Little shimmy there, that's fine. Yeah, I think that will work okay. There comes another 28 million just here. And we'll double track and we'll actually come out from the other platform, even though the trains will not be using that platform. What we're going to want to do is, just before we get to the station, put in a crossover there. 45 miles per hour is the slowest point. We didn't really have much room to stretch out any further, so we'll go for that. And do we want to double track this entire length? Let's just see here. How long is that tunnel? I think that tunnel will keep it single. So let's just pull you back because we want to leave enough room before the tunnel entry to have a good speed on the merge here, which we do at 50. We'll single track through the length of tunnel here. We can, I think what we'll do, we'll double track from this tunnel to this tunnel. So that little tunnel here will be double tracked. It's not a very long tunnel after all, so why not? So let's do that again. And if we can get 50 miles an hour, there we go. Bring you through. Now I might struggle to get 50 on this bit. Let's see. Oh no. In fact, we can get 75, even better. Bring that in like so. Did that do weird things to the other track there? Not really. It's got a little wiggle here, which is unfortunate, but we can live with that. So that bit will remain double tracked, and then from here we may as well double track from the tunnel to the platform. So let's do exactly that. So come to about, I'd say there will give us enough space. Yeah, 59, perfect. And now we can get those signals put in here. These want to be one way, so we're going to want one there, which is obviously going to marshal the trains into the station. We'll put one there. We probably don't have room for a midpoint block on this little stretch. This remains single tracked, so one there for controlling entry into the tunnel. We'll have a short signal just before the tunnel there to clear the block behind if there's anything waiting to follow on through. We'll then put a short block there, and again that's to clear this block here for trains coming down back to the colliery. And then one there and one there, and again we don't really have the scope here for a midpoint block. Not that the trains here are going to be as long as the ones we have running in the raw iron, but even so I think we don't really need the blocks here. What we'll do is very quickly just see if we can do something with this terrain here by smoothing it out, just to make it look less ridiculous. And yeah, we certainly can, and while we're here we may as well just smooth the rest of this out to make it look nice and blended. How are we over here? Well, let's just run it over the top anyway. There we go. That little bit there, and then here's our final stretch of track. And yep, in fact let's just go along the station as well. Wonderful. So that should connect. Of course it does. We know that this station connects because it's already active and in use. Our trains, they can, no they cannot. I'll say they can gain access to the new line, but they cannot. So if we do that, then they certainly can. So we may as well use the depot. Where is it? Oh, it's quite a distance away, isn't it? There it is. Do we want to use that depot or should we give them another one? I think it's probably best if we were to give them another one. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's give them a new depot, a dedicated depot building for this new stretch of track that we've just constructed. And the only really logical place that makes sense is in and around the station itself. So if we had it somewhere, where do we want it? In fact, let's pop it up against the industry like that. And this does mean they're gonna have to run to the forge before they come and start picking up some coal, but that's okay. And we'll go for something like that. And again, just run over here with the smoothing tool just to blend it all out. So yeah, they'll have to, like I said, run to the forge, turn around, and then run back to the colliery. But that's only when we first buy the train, so that's not too much of an issue. And in terms of loco, it's going to have to be the Atlantic, and we will double head this. In fact, let's see if we can get away with a single header. And we want these gondolas. And in terms of capacity, I want to be aiming for around about, can we say 200? And I think we'll try that. And if it's just too slow, then we can always come back and double head these. Anyway, we need a caboose, which is right there. Something like that. And how many do we want? Should we say 3? 3 of those. So they're ready to go, but of course we haven't got the line set up yet, so we need to do that. So we're coming from Carrollton Colliery over to Carrollton Steel Mill. Let's give it a dark colour because it is transporting coal. At the colliery we want them to have a full load, so we'll set that. We don't really need to tell them what to load and what to unload because the only thing they can load is coal, and there's nothing they can pick up here to bring back because there's no demand being generated down here, so we can forgo all of that. And let's give this a name. So this is RC, and this is just quite simply coal, and then it's Carrollton. So what do we want to call that? CLTN, Coal Carrollton. I don't think we've used, we would have used Carrollton, wouldn't we? Well, we used it here where we gave it a slightly different name. Okay, well yeah, we'll go for, well, where's it gone? Where have you gone? Where are you? Yeah, CLTN will do. Okay, so let's go back to that depot. We have the 3 trains ready to go. Stick them on that line, and we should now have coal being generated at the station. And there's our first few units. And here comes the first coal train just departing the depot now. Like we said, they are going to have to go to the Carrollton Steel Mill to turn around at that station before heading back, but that isn't a problem. And they should have gone on to platform 2 here, and yes they have. We guaranteed that by only having a single crossover point rather than having a full diamond setup. If we had the diamond, they could have used either platform, but as it stands they cannot. Okay, so that's that done. So we should have steel being produced there in the not too distant future. Now all this of course is a view to getting Carrollton set up as one of our transportation hubs. Now this steel, we're going to use it to generate some machinery for Carrollton. And of course we can also use the steel to generate the goods which we have over here in Clearwater. So in terms of the steel and the machinery, our machinery factory is over here nestled in the far southeast at West Jordan Machinery Factory. So we need to get our steel from here to here, and of course at some point from here into the goods factory as well. So how do we want to get our machinery down here? Well, I think we're going to have to share some of this line, but have it branch away down here and have it run into the machinery factory. We also need to bring in the planks. The nearest sawmill, or the most obvious sawmill to use, is this one here just to the south of Green Bay. We have a forest here, which obviously we looked at last time out because we said that Green Bay was in the middle of this. I don't think we have another one along here. No, not that I can see immediately. We do have one right up there, which isn't really a viable option. We do have this one here from Athens Forest to Peoria Sawmill, and we could run this down, connect into this line here, and have it come all the way in. If we were to do that, bearing in mind we also have the steel train coming down here, and at some point we'd also have the machinery train coming back the way, then we would have no choice but to double track this entire run, and maybe even have it triple or even quadruple tracked as well, just to make sure we don't have too much traffic build up and trains waiting on one another, because we're going to have quite a few trains coming in and out of here. Of course, we're going to have the planks coming in, the empty train going back, the steel going out, the steel train going back, the goods machinery train coming out, the machinery train heading back, and that's on top of having the coal trains going back and forth as well. So this would become quite a busy stretch, and I don't think just keeping it double tracked will do us enough justice, insofar as the efficiency wouldn't be there. So I think we would have to look at having extra tracks down here, so we could run different services on different tracks just to balance the load, if you follow me. Of course, that's all a consideration for the not too distant future, but still the future nonetheless. But it is definitely something we have to bear in mind. So our next venture then, I think the best thing we could do is perhaps get the steel being brought down here. So let's see, where would we want to branch off? I think it would have to be on this bit here. So we'd have a line that branches off here, a line that comes obviously and connects back in here at the same-ish point, run the tracks down this way, and then into the factory itself. So if we wanted our station to be down here, well, it has to be down here, of course. How many platforms are we looking at? In fact, we may as well do something a bit different and have a cargo terminus station at this point, because the trains won't be going anywhere else, because we're right up against the edge of the map. Although the problem with that is the building and the connection point will be so far set back that it probably won't give us an active connection. So maybe we are better off just having a pass-through station, even if nothing ever passes on through. And how many platforms would we want? Well, we want 2 incoming, planks and steel, and at least 1 outgoing for the machinery. Is there anything else down here that needs machines? There's Athens, but do we have a viable alternative for Athens? Yes, we do. We could use this one up here at Murieta. Nothing else on this part of the map requires machinery at all. But saying that, of course, these towns, as they grow, they will start requesting a 3rd and 4th cargo item, and that could very well be machines. So we want to make sure we have enough scope for future expansion at this station, but initially we can get away with just the 3 platforms: steel in, planks in, and machines out. So let's do that and make sure we have enough room along here to get new platforms connected into the line if we need them. For the time being, however, we can just press on and look to get... Do we want a tunnel there? Probably not. We probably want a cutting just in case we need to bring in more lines and more platforms. But yeah, what we can look to do immediately is get this and get some steel being brought in down here. So let's get that to 8 meters. So yeah, cutting there, it's the only real viable option we have. Just have you come that way just a little. There we go. Now I've set to 8 meters there, but of course the track we're connecting into would have been around between 10 and 12 meters. So that's something we need to bear in mind. Now here we can lose some speed to avoid the tunnel, which I think we'll probably end up doing. Let's have that drop to say 9 meters. Now we're going to have a tunnel here. What would a cutting look like? Not too bad. A bit rough there, but we can smooth it out later. So again, that's up to 10 meters right there. So we don't really want to be going much higher than, well, we definitely don't want to be going any higher than 12. So as soon as we see this jump to 12 meters, that's where we want to tell our track, to maintain its current height elevation. And let's have you get a little bit further in to about there. Okay, so let's see, how would we want to tap off and break away from all of this? Well, what we're going to need, can we do something like this? After that signal, can we have a line break away this way? Yes, we can. Does it look okay? It doesn't look bad at all. It is a bit slow at 42 miles per hour, but that's okay. Can we go? No, can't go much further that way. That looks like it's the maximum we can get to. So then this signal will double up to not only protect entry into this block here, but will also protect the junction as well. So let's have that go to there. Where's our track? It's over there. And let's just stretch that out a little bit so we know where we're going. Okay, 13 meters there. We don't want that. We want that down to about 11 there. That's only a 0.7% gradient, which is perfectly fine. And then what we want is to probably push that signal back. It's only a clearing signal after all. Yes, there might be trouble later on when it's blocking in the junction, but for now it's fine. And if it does start blocking in too frequently, then we can come back and deal with it. But let's have something not like that, because that would put the signal right in the middle. Let's have it first of all come out level and flat. So it's going to be a little bit slow, this. That's probably, we might have to move that signal a bit further. Although saying that, I think, oh no, this is double tracked already. Sorry, for some reason I thought we weren't double tracked at this point, but we already are. Okay. In fact, we might just have to do away with that signal in its entirety, because it's going to be on the track. So while it doesn't cause a problem for our trains, they don't crash or anything, it just doesn't look right. So that signal may have to go. And instead we'll just find an alternative. If we can get these two come back together, and we don't want a tunnel here. In fact, let's have it come together a little bit further away, and we'll just manually put a cutting in at this point, like that. So like I said, that signal, yeah, it's gonna have to go. So we'll remove the signal if we can. Let's just zoom out and do it off the icon, that'll be easier. I mean, we could put one here, but we run the risk of blocking this junction and holding everything else up. That's heading down to the steel mill, so we'll not do that. While we're here, let's just smooth off this terrain here where we've had to, well, we didn't have to go for a cutting, but where we went for a cutting rather than a tunnel, just to make it look all nice and level. And then these two tracks we can have run down here and connect into our waiting track just here. Little tunnel there. Yeah, why not? We'll go with that. And then because of the high volume of traffic we're potentially going to have down here, we will just double track this entire stretch all the way down as far as the station. Like so. Get that terrain tool out again and just smooth that off there where it looks absolutely ugly and hideous from what we just had to do. Well, again, we didn't have to do it at all, but I opted to do it. What about down here? Yeah, it's a bit rough on that corner there. So let's just smooth that little bit off just there, nice and smooth now, or a lot better than it was anyway. So now we need to put some signal work on this bit here. So we'll not do it by putting a boatyard down, instead we'll do it by putting some signals down. So we'll have one there, and we want one there. So let's put another one there as well. Let's have a block just by this tunnel here. We'll put another block down here. We probably need a good number of blocks on this bit because of the amount of trains we potentially going to have running down here in the not too distant future. So we'll make sure we're quite liberal with the application of the blocks on this stretch. I think that should do. It's going to be enough for now anyway. We can always adjust it later on if we need to. And at this point we can set up a new line. No, we can't because we need to give it a new platform access. We want this to be dedicated. So let's get ourselves a track that comes off here. Let's take it all the way out to say there. And we want you to... It's a bit slow there, 41 mile an hour, but it's the best we're going to be able to do, I think. So we'll have one that does that. And I don't think we're going to have anything else running from here down to the forge, but we'll bring that platform into play anyway. And no, we didn't want to do that. Just think about that a little bit more logically. Let's have it do this. There we go. And then because we travel on the right, so this is the way we're coming in into the platform, and then we need a way to get back over like that. So let's give ourselves a signal just there. That gives these trains somewhere to wait while something else is being loaded. And let's give ourselves a signal there and there, and that'll protect the merge point just there. Now we can go back to that line, set up a new line, whoops, or amend this line rather, add station, so we're coming from the steel mill, platform 3, and we're coming all the way down here to West Jordan Machinery. So let's just rename that to the West Jordan Machinery Factory. At the steel mill, I'm not sure if we want them to wait for a full load because we might cause one of those feedback loops where we have two trains waiting here, which is blocking the coal from getting in, so this can't actually produce enough to generate a full load, so nothing moves down here ever again. Or what we could do is actually set it for full load, but just have them wait for... We'll start with 5 minutes, and if it causes problems, then we'll come back to it. So you're picking up steel there. Just rename this, so this will be steel, and this is CLTN to West Jordan. Yeah, that's fine. Yep. Change the colour, and we'll go for that one there. No, a bit more grey. Let's go for that one there. That's perfect, I think. Well, it's close enough anyway, it'll do. And we may as well use this depot again. For now, I think we'll just need 2 trains for this. And we want these fellows right here. And shall we say 156, maybe a bit more. 180, yeah, 180 will do. With a caboose, 2 of those. And you can't see the line, let's just move a little bit further up here so you can see the line. There you go. So we now have our steel production in full swing down here. That steel will now start being shipped down here, where it will just wait and build up in a nice stockpile. So the next thing we're going to look to do is probably use this setup here. We'll just use trucks to get the planks over here because it's not too far, and then we will use a train, of course, to get the produced planks down here. I think the best way to come is to perhaps head down this way through this little valley here over the road and then merge into this busy line here, and that's when we have to make a determination as to we want to maybe triple or even quadruple track this little bit here to keep things nice and balanced. Before we go, let's just have a look how much is our steel train going to make us, or how much is it making us. We've just missed the pop-up, but we can see right here 3.4 million. So quite a ways under the 28 million that these fellows give us, but that's fine. So what train should we go on? I think probably we'll take a ride on the steel train. We have one here that's about to head up to the steel mill station. When it gets up there, we'll hop on board and we'll take a ride out down into the West Jordan Machinery Factory. I think this route here is probably a little bit too short to make a decent outro cab ride. This one's just that little bit longer, isn't it? So that's what we'll go for. So we'll put a cut in at this point, pause the date, of course, so we don't have any unlocks during the outro, and we'll pick it back up just as we're about to depart from the steel mill. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We're just departing the steel mill. I have sent this train to leave immediately, so that's why we're only leaving with 52 out of 180. So the next train should wait for a more substantial load, but just to get the outro up and running, I've set this one underway partially loaded. It's fine. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode and you'll continue to enjoy these series overall. As before, 1,000 apologies for the lack of content over the past few weeks. But as I said, Easter holidays and kids being at home and all of that good stuff just makes it that little bit more tricky to record with the peace and quiet that I like to do it with. But like I said at the start, with me being back at school this week, we should be back to something resembling normality. As always, your comments, feedback and suggestions are always welcome, so please leave them either down below in the comment section or hop over to the Discord channel and join in the conversation over there. I do check both medias. As always, at this point, I just want to say a special thank you to those of you who are pledged over on Patreon. It is an absolutely fantastic gesture by you all. That is, of course, Kylie Brooks, William Smith and Isaiah Ramos. Thank you very much indeed to all of you. Your generosity is greatly and deeply appreciated. Anybody else wishing to pledge over on Patreon, there is a link in the comment section, in the description, not in the comments, in the description of each and every video. So if that's something you're interested in, then go ahead and check that out. Isaiah, as a new patron, you will have a train bear your name. If there's any train you would like to see, then please let me know. I haven't done it yet, of course. I would have done it this episode if I was going to, but I thought I'd try something a little bit different and allow the patrons to choose a train that basically what they prefer. So yeah, let me know, Isaiah, and we'll get that sorted out for you. I was thinking of doing one of the iron ore trains since they make us an absolute fortune, but of course I'm I'm happy to listen to alternative suggestions if you do have any preference yourself. For now though, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.